Hi, everyone. So yeah, for my sins, I'm a DigiLab manager in the UK, so it's part of my job description to have fun. So I totally get what Laura was talking about there. It's a mandatory requirement in DigiLab. So what does it mean? What are we doing here? What we're talking about? We're talking about solving a problem, having a look at something big, always big problems. And I'm going to tell you today about a project we did in the IoT space, but it was quite close to my heart, and I'll explain that as we're going along. So, your average supermarket. Can you imagine what this supermarket would look like if all of the pollinators, all of the insects that pollinate all of the flowers and plants that are presented here in the supermarket? Well, one American shop did a study on that, and this is a photograph of their supermarket. And I can tell you that it looks like this. Should all of the pollinators cease? Now, I know we're looking at things, scientists are looking at drones, small drones to pollinate. They're looking at producing plants that don't require pollination. That's a new thing as well. But myself, I'm looking at one aspect, one type of pollinator, the honeybee. So honeybees do need our help. Now, the human race has had a lot of impact on honeybees, and neokines are a type of pesticide that we use. And back in 2016, Harvard University pinpointed this specific pesticide, which is quite similar to nicotine for the smokers in the room. And this particular thing, one drop into the beehive, and just one drop, the whole colony is dead outside the door. So and bees are very hygienic creatures, so the second they just detect a problem, they throw them out the door. And a beekeeper comes and there's a pile of bees on the floor. This is one drop. So most European countries have now banned this. Others are working on it and getting very close. There's a lot of international pressure to do this. So that's good. That's good. The human influence that is impacting the honeybees is beginning to be a focus and beginning to be solved. But Mother Nature, everyone's against the bees. Mother Nature has thrown something at them as well. This horrible creature here, which you can see circled on the back of the bee, is called a Varroa mite. And its full name is Varroa destructor. So the clue is in the name, guys. Not quite as aggressive as the pesticide, but this creature lays its eggs inside with the baby bee. The mite develops and destroys the bee and leads to the same thing, which is the colony collapses eventually. Now, the outcome here is a little bit different. The change we can make is a little bit different. So beekeepers can begin to treat this, deal with it, develop strains of bees that are perhaps more hygienic or more capable of cleaning this from themselves. So the plan of attack here is a little bit different. So we need to help the bees to deal with this. So look carefully. You may recognize the guy in the picture. That's me and my daughter. So this was close to me because a few years ago I decided I needed a new random hobby. I needed something that was good and cool and different, so I went to buy a motorcycle. That didn't happen because that was not a good thing according to my wife. So I came up with an alternative new cool and hobby. So a few years ago I went on an evening course. I learned a lot about bees and beekeeping. My daughter came along with me as well, so we both learned together. So given what I learned at that time, we had a hackathon. The subject of the hackathon was sustainability. We always partner with a technology partner. So in this case, we partnered with Microsoft. And I put my hand up and I said, guys, I'm really sorry. I know I normally organize the hackathons, but this one, I think I'd like to drop out and join a team and actually do the hackathon. So that's what we did. We formed a team. focused on a sustainability issue, partnering with Microsoft. Oh, and the other theme was IoT as well, so we wanted to bring IoT in. Why do we do hackathons? Well, a bit like Laura was saying, that hackathons are fun, but in terms of learning, IoT was a skill set that people didn't have. I'm a computer scientist, people that I know, colleagues didn't know about it or hadn't developed that skill, software engineers hadn't used it before. Because of that, they back away from it and go, no, actually, that's not for me, that's not my skill set. So we do a hackathon to surface a new thing, to introduce people to it so they can quickly learn something new and say, actually, IoT is not scary. I totally get IoT, I'm on top of it, I can learn more, and it helps us develop our skills. And don't forget, have fun at the same time. So we have many stakeholders in this sustainability challenge that's going to solve all the problems for bees. Our stakeholders are beekeepers. Let's not forget about the government, where the government have animal inspectors, and I can guarantee that within that group of animal inspectors will be a bee inspector. We've got growers, and on a larger scale, we've got farmers. We've got the bees themselves, and then we've got the community of beekeepers. Now, this is a skill that's learned through training courses, but more importantly through practical sessions, through having mentors. And a very important aspect to solving this problem was putting knowledge in people's hands so that they can share, discuss, so that one mentor can mentor 20 people instead of 2 people. And so that people can help themselves as well. So as we attacked this challenge, we started putting our stakeholders up on the wall, and we ended up with this big list of stakeholders and all these different things. But it kind of boiled down to a couple of key things. We had on the left-hand side something in the IoT space that we could put with the bees. And so some electronic sensors that we can use around the bees, and that's whether that's sound, humidity, light, security. And by the way, guys, bee theft is a thing. People steal beehives. So we looked at the security aspect of having devices there as well. And in the middle there, we looked at what can we put in the hands of the beekeeper, in particular 2 kinds of beekeepers, the novice, the beginner, and the experienced mentor. And what can we put in their hands or on their computers to help them learn more quickly, be more effective, and share. And on the right-hand side, we're onto the sharing and collaboration and how a group of people can learn together, share together, work together. And I had first-hand experience of this because I was assigned a mentor. And Matt and I are now very good friends, but we have this WhatsApp discussion going on constantly. We were talking about WhatsApp earlier. When I first set off, it was like, what have you done this week? And he'll tell me what he's done. I'm going to do the same thing. And then the next one was, I'm seeing something, I'm looking at something in my hive, and I don't understand it. So this is a beekeeper problem. That means taking the gloves off to take a photograph. Right? So there's the problem as a beginner beekeeper. You're covered in bees, but you must take a photograph to send to your mentor so he can tell you what you're doing wrong or what you need to do next to deal with the thing that you're looking at. So you get stung. That's the answer to that one. So a hackathon for us in this case was kind of like a summer of code. We had, I think, 3 or 4 weeks to work on this. So we moved quickly. We developed our method. We created a business model canvas. We worked out who our stakeholders were. We worked out what our products were. And like every good team full of ideas, we ended up with an enormous backlog of things that we wish we could get to, and here's the 4-year plan for this product. So we carved it up. What you're looking at here is a retrospective at the end of one of the sprints. And within Sopra Steria, we use a few tools to help with this. So this was us using our wiki, and the whole team were noting down what they liked, what went wrong, what didn't, how that sprint had gone. And then as we were going along, we kept our backlog and kept an eye on it, and we measured the velocity of the team. The red line there is the burn down of all the tasks that we were going to deliver that week. So when people say to me that innovation is unstructured or has no process, I can tell you that innovation is very structured and very process oriented, just very flexible, very customer focused, very problem focused. So a bit on the tech side for the real techies in the room. One of our Sprint Zero things was to figure out what are we going to put in the beehive? What tech are we going to put in there? And I learned far too much about solar panels, batteries, connected hives. We built things in Lego to simulate all of this as well. Or Lego is the other important thing you need in a DigiLab. I'll come back to that. So we took this very cheap computer, very powerful computer, put it, we decided it was good enough for what we needed to do. And better still, it was so good, one of these things could monitor tens of hives. So nothing we were doing was particularly intensive. We were taking a temperature reading, a humidity reading, maybe a photograph, and just cycling through that. So these little packets of data, which are described in the black box at the bottom, these packets of data were passed every 30 seconds from every hive that the system was connected to. There was one other health aspect that came onto our backlog as well, and you'll notice it in there. The actual computer itself needed to remain healthy. We decided that it needed to run for months and months and months without crashing, without running out of memory, without running out. So we included monitoring the health of the bees and monitoring the health of the monitor as well. So here's the big picture architecture of what we did. And you'll notice that beehive has a Sopra Steria logo on it as well. That wasn't us, that wasn't our beehive. In doing this project, I decided that I needed to find all the people in Sopra Steria around the world that were doing something with bees. I found people planting flowers, I found people sponsoring hives. In Hamburg, we have beehives on top of the office. So this whole community was developed around this, and we wrote to them all. It's all about marketing and talking to people and gathering their experiences and ask them for feedback as well. And one of them kindly sent me the picture of the Sopra Steria beehive. I think this was in Toulouse, in the garden in the office. So our little Raspberry Pi is sitting there, and it's just the size of a credit card, and it's monitoring that hive. And that little packet of data, because we're partnering with Microsoft, we've got the whole IoT hub there, and we needed something really big to take a lot of data that would scale massively. So that little packet of data passes through IoT hub, through Stream Analytics. We can look at it there as well. That's one of the good things about Stream Analytics, is you look at it real time, and all the way back into the hands of the beekeeper. And don't forget, we've got the sharing platform aspect of that as well. So it's back in the hands of the beekeeper for them to have discussions with their mentor. Now, a healthy beehive is a fairly boring beehive. The bees are the best air conditioning unit. The temperature is to within 0.1 of a degree constantly if they're healthy. So we put it back in the hands of the beekeeper so they can discuss with their mentor, so they can discuss changes and differences, and when the season ends, maybe the temperature drops a little bit, and what does that mean? When does it happen? What do I do next? So here's an example of the dashboard we created for one hive. And because we were an agile team, we dealt with things that emerged during the project as well. There's a light and dark element there. You might think that light and dark, well, the lid's on the hive, it's going to be dark all the time, surely, except when it's been stolen. So they take the lid off to check what's in, put the lid back on and steal it. Now, that's all good if you're the one doing an inspection, but if you're not there, wouldn't it be good to know that the lid's just been taken off your hive? If you live in America, that could be a bear. Bears like honey. Yeah, it's a fact, they destroy hives very quickly as well. So knowing that that's happening, so we had a bit of free data there because the sensors allowed it. And of course, we need to test these things in the field as well. So here is, on the right-hand side, 2 Raspberry Pis in a nice waterproof box. And if you look at the top picture in the middle, there's a thin wire dropping down into the middle, and that's all the sensor pack that's in the middle of that hive. And if you look very carefully at the bottom picture, you'll see there's a queen bee at the bottom. She's got a yellow dot on her back. Bit of external collaboration here as well. Let's not forget we need to talk to stakeholders and understand what their requirements are. The bee inspector was quite a good one because they were looking at country level data and very keen to have systems that allow them to inspect at a country level and compare changes. I talked about the Sopra Steria beehives. We formed during this project the Sopra Steria International Beekeepers Association, of which there are 16 members. We talk, it's all good. We're not shy, anyone can join our group. We had the Microsoft Azure partnership in there as well to get us the IoT hub and the Azure platform that it sits on. And we also contacted the local association. I'm based in Scotland, so we wrote to the local association, sent them surveys, and just we wanted to understand, a bit more about how all of their users would consider tech, whether they use them at the hive, whether they do it at home, how old were they, what was their behavioral patterns around use of technology, because there's no point doing the technology bit if the people don't get it, don't understand it, aren't ready for it. So that is me, Stephen Readman. I am the DigiLab manager in the UK, and I am a beekeeper. Thank you.